Hey everyone, it's Tim here again, and I have recently gone down a big music theory and listening rabbit hole, and I wanted to share a little bit of it with you because I think you might find it interesting. And the reason I wanted to share this is, well, one, I find it interesting. Two, it's the kind of approach that I want my students to take when they listen to music. I want them to go, that sounds interesting. I want to learn more about why that sounds cool and what's going on in that music. So I was working out on my bike the other day and I was listening to music and a song came on that I hadn't heard for 15 years or thereabouts. And it's a song by a producer called Deadmau5. And I'm going to put it up here for you so you can have a listen to it. And have a listen to what's going on in the background and see if it makes you go, for some reason. Let's have a listen. Now, bear in mind, this is a piece of music from 2008. It's called progressive house. This is the style of music, the style of dance music. And this producer was known for absolutely huge nightclub tracks. But does this sound like it's from 2008? I don't think so. What are you thinking as you're listening to it? Let's hear a little bit more. Cool is it? Now, look, this may not be your style of music that you would tend to listen to. However, I hope you can appreciate that that's kind of cool sounding, right? And what does it make you think of? The first thing I thought of as I was listening back to it, and as I said, I hadn't listened to it for years and years and years, is, well, number one, this is pretty cool. Two, this sounds distinctively Baroque, doesn't it? This chord progression. You've actually just heard a piece of music that's gone through every single key in the circle of fifths in order. Around the circle, starting at B minor and ending up back at B minor, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to unpack that theory with you in just a second. But I thought, okay, well, where has this actually come from? Because this is not the original. He didn't invent this chord progression. It actually turns out that it goes way back to the time of Henry Purcell. And the original from this was the music for the funeral of a queen that died at that in that period. So let me just find that for you now. It's the funeral of Queen Mary. I'm going to play you a little bit of how it would have sounded back then, and then we'll hear who else has used this in the interim period, and then we'll unpack the actual chord progression. So here's what Purcell would have written back in the day, or did write. Okay, so I get that it's not quite the same, but there's definitely a lot of inspiration that's come from that tune. So I actually found the music to that online. It starts in C, F minor, back to C, and then the C turns into C minor, A flat to G. And then in the Purcell version, G turns to minor. And we end up back in G minor, and then E flat, B flat, E flat. And then it finishes with, so it finishes in C major where it started. Now that's not quite what Deadmau5 does, but what I've since found out is there's been some other people who've used this in the meantime that have inspired him. And the name Clockwork, do you know where that comes from? So it actually comes from the soundtrack to A Clockwork Orange, which is not a movie I've seen or plan to see. I'm not sure if one of my viewers have seen it, but we're not going to watch it. We're just going to have a listen to the music, the Purcell theme that was used at the start of this one. Let's have a listen. So you get the idea. You can definitely hear the strong influences there, and in fact, it's almost used as a recording that's kind of been manipulated rather than being completely reproduced. So that was 1971, a couple of hundred years after Purcell wrote the original, but that wasn't the only time this has been used. So I think the biggest influence on Deadmau5's track was actually a group in '95. Yes, the year I left school, a techno track called by Cygnus X. And this one was called, interestingly, the Orange theme. Can you see the Clockwork Orange stuff coming through this? So this is the Clockwork Orange theme, but done in a dance or trance style by Cygnus X, and it's called the Orange theme. And I'll skip through a little bit. So you get the idea of how Cygnus X has now really turned this into a dance track. And I think in 2008, almost, what is that, 10 years later, Deadmau5 has now gone, okay, I can make this even cooler. And he certainly goes around the whole circle. So Henry Purcell never went around the whole circle, but the movement in order to get through the first three keys is definitely what has allowed Deadmau5 and the other composers to go all the way around the circle. So let's have a look at the theory, which I think is super cool. And I've actually just kind of been scribbling it out as I've been trying to work it out. So here's my overview of how it all works. So we're in B minor for the Deadmau5 version. And the movement is from B minor to E minor with the G on the bottom. So that's E minor first inversion to F sharp major. And then at the end of each three chords, the major chord, so that's F sharp major, becomes minor. And that starts the new key. So we're now in F sharp minor. And then we move to D7, major 7 to C sharp major. And then what happens? The major becomes the new minor key. So we're now in C sharp minor. And then G sharp major becomes minor. Yeah, so, and that cycle goes all the way through the entire song. So what I worked out is that there's two kind of progressions. So the first one goes 1 to the 4 chord in first inversion. So you could either write that 6 or B, depending on how you like to do your nomenclature, and then to the 5 chord. The 5 chord then becomes the new minor 1 chord in the new key. It goes to a 6 chord and then to the 5 chord. And then that cycle repeats. So for example, in B minor, we've got the B minor chord, and then the 4 chord in B minor, so B, E, F, B, C, D, E is an E minor chord, and it's in first inversion, which means the G's on the bottom. So this chord here, and then the 5 chord in B minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is F sharp major. And it is a major chord. The dominant chord, the 5 chord in a minor key, is always a major chord. And then we make that minor, and we're down here. So we're now in F sharp minor. So what's the major 6 chord in F sharp minor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is a D chord, and it's a major chord. And it's actually a 7, major 7. I'm going to use my jazz terms because I'm not sure how to write it in the old school way. D major 7, 2 C sharp, 2 C sharp major, that's the 5 chord. When we're in F sharp minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we cycle through again. That becomes the minor chord. And then we make it 1, here's the 6, 5, then we're going to go to E flat minor. There's the dominant chord that's going to become what? Minor. Now we're in B flat minor. What is it? G flat, major 7 to F. So if we're back on this one, I'm here now. We're now in F minor. We're just going around the circle. We'll bring up a circle on the chart, show you where we're at. So we started at B minor, F sharp minor, C sharp minor, G sharp minor, E flat minor. We're now at B flat minor. And the chord progression continues to F minor. Now we're in C major, but not for long. C minor begins. And now we're in G minor. Sorry. That's the D chord, but that changes to D minor. And now we're in A minor. E major, so we're getting close to the end. That becomes E minor. That's B major chord, so the next chord will be B minor, and we're back at the start. How cool is that? I just love how music theory works. It is so mathematical somehow. I don't know the maths, I don't get it, I don't really care for it, but I just know it's there, and I know that that is a cool progression. So we've literally gone right the way around the circle of fifths from B minor right back to B minor using 2 chord progressions, which are almost identical apart from this chord here, and it works. And it sounds really, really cool. The other thing I'll notice as well was that the melody notes are the same for each of the chord progressions. So the melody movement in this one is the same, and it kind of goes, it goes like 5, 4, 2 in the key that we're in. So there's B minor, that's the C sharp, that's the second note. So 5, 4, 2. And then on the second one, this chord progression with the 6 in it, it goes, what is it? 5, 1, flat 8, flat octave, is that right? Yeah, flat 1, which is kind of weird, but that's where it goes. So it does that each time too. So have a listen out to that melody movement as well. So now that you've heard it, let me play you a little bit more of the original, not the original, the Deadmau5 version that I was playing you at the start. We'll play on from where we were at so you can get a sense of where it goes next. And try and listen out for those different chord progressions. I think you'll find it pretty cool. And we'll put up on the screen what's actually going on, okay? Here we go. So here's the start coming up now. Listen out for that melody as well. Actually, it goes up on the second one. Anyway, you get the idea. I'd love to take you through the whole song, but you can go and listen to it, obviously online on Spotify, wherever you like to listen to music. I hope you found that interesting. It's just the kind of music theory that I just love. And if you've watched any of my videos, particularly the music teachers out there, you'll know that I love finding connections for students, particularly between old music and new music. And I've often talked before about my connection between the Solfeggetto by C.P.E. Bach and Barbie Girl. They use the same chord progressions. There's incredible connections that we can find all the time in music. And the more that we bring these to life for our students, the more we help share our enthusiasm for how these connections are made. And isn't it cool that we're kind of borrowing and building on the stuff from the past? I think our students can only cherish and benefit from that kind of experience from their teacher. So I hope that was useful for you. If you've got any comments, if I got anything wrong, then let me know in the comments below. Make sure you hit subscribe and that bell, and I'll see you in the next video.